And welcome to Love Always Self. I'm Shyra.
Hi, y'all. I'm Karista, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Love Always Self.
Hey.
Oh, man, I am exhausted. I don't
Yeah.
know about you, which
Yeah.
I do. Actually, you just told me you were pretty tired too. So, um, yeah, wow. What a crazy last couple of days.
Yeah. And just for the listeners today, we are going to kind of go a little bit different in our episode. I know we've done this a couple of times, but we just kind of want to chat. We want to have a conversation about what's going on in our lives. We want to share, some of the things that we've been going through that could be similar to the things that you guys have been going through.
I think a lot of times we tend to try and just focus on what we can do to improve our lives and focus on the positivity and how to um, put love at the center of everything. And sometimes life really gets in the way
Yeah.
of all that positivity. So it's just a real hey.
Hey,
Oh,
we're
we've got shit going on too. That is not all rainbows and butterflies
we're
and
human.
mhm,
We're
mhm.
human having human experiences. And so sometimes sharing our own personal experiences helps somebody else out there just not
Mhm.
feel alone. So,
Which is why we do the people's journey.
yeah, that's
Mhm.
exactly why we do the people's journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, Carrie, you had quite the week and weekend thus far. Why don't you tell our beautiful audience what that's been
Yeah.
like?
Yeah, and I'll just give some a little bit of recent things prior to this last event on Thursday. So today is, I believe, the 22nd or 23rd of April.
Yeah, it's the 23rd.
23rd of April. So in the last like 6 weeks, just been dealing with um just some family things. Like my spouse, he tore his ACL when we were in Dominican Republic in March, and so just working on plans for that as far as surgical repair for him. So he's got a lot on his plate, and I am going to be the primary caretaker in his post-op recovery. And so just trying to get our ducks in a row as far as he does a lot of things around the house that I don't have to do. So he's been teaching me how to, take care of the pool and, you know, uh, writing down a list of chores that he does on a regular basis so I can just try and keep up as best as I can for a
Yeah.
few weeks after his post-op recovery or his surgery. So, that was all in the works. We literally last week went to the surgeon's office and had the conversation about scheduling surgery, and so that's literally the next thing to do. We're scheduling surgery. And so that was Monday, I don't the 17th. So that's going on. There's some changes at work which are, pretty constant, but scheduling changes, so that's been kind of up in the air this week. And so I've got like personal spousal support and then just the things at work. And then what happened
This wasn't great.
this Thursday on the 20th, I think it was just after the partial solar eclipse. We had just sat down for dinner. It was getting ready to storm outside, and like just sat down for dinner. I had maybe a few bites of the food that I made, and I got up because it was pouring outside, like torrential downpour. And I haven't seen it that hard in a couple of years. And so I got up and just kinda, like, wandered around the house, and I was like, "Something's off." And I went and I checked the rooms and just looking for any kind of leaks or anything like that, and I didn't see any, so I went back and sat down at the dinner table. And not even 15 seconds later, my husband stands up and looks out the dining room window and sees that water is absolutely rising.
Mm.
And we got 4 inches, 4 plus inches of rain in less than an hour. And we had 2 years ago when we bought the house, we had experienced water rising, another time, like 2 weeks after we had purchased the house.
Yeah.
And so water rose again, and we had thought that we had taken care of it. We put in a French drain. We hadn't had any more issues in 2 years. And sure enough, this water rose up and our first floor flooded. So half of
Oh.
I'm laughing now. Sometimes you just have to laugh or else, you're gonna just
Right,
break
right.
down. But, the water rose up and it was so fast. I think it started raining right around 7:30, and by 7:45, water was already starting to come into the kitchen and into the living room. So it did not stop for a good hour, as far as the water rising, and it rose up 6 inches on the side of our house, so above the foundation line, and the water kept pouring in, and as soon as my husband said, "Ah, shit," when he looked out that dining room window, I got up and I
Gosh.
started grabbing towels. We used every single towel in our house. We used our sheets, we used, rugs,
I was gonna
so
say, you even used, like, your new rug, your living room
no,
no?
no,
That
we
wasn't your
did
new
not
rug?
use a new rug.
Oh, okay.
We actually used, our living room rug, which was old,
Oh, okay, okay.
and we had gotten it at a fairly inexpensive price, and it was a large rug, like 11 by 9, and I sacrificed that bitch. I was like, "Nope, 1 rug versus all of our furniture," and, bless my husband's heart, he has this torn ACL, so he's limited on what he could do as far as helping around the house. And so he told me, he was like, "You can't move all the living room furniture by yourself." And I said, "You betcha I can." And
Yeah.
I hulked out and moved our fold out or pull out couch with the queen size mattress in it. That thing is
Oh
heavy.
my gosh.
Moved
Oh
the
my gosh.
entertainment center with, all the dog stuff in it and all the, TV on top, and that was really heavy. Got the rug out from all the furniture, moved it over to where the water was coming in, and just let it soak, and the entire rug was soaked. All of our, towels, everything was soaked.
Gosh.
But, I was really grateful because that one quick thinking saved that water from covering the entire first floor and going into the master. So, thank goodness,
Wow.
um, we were able to at least stop the advances and we didn't lose any furniture. So, we put, our wood dining table up on wood blocks and, just
And I didn't know any of this was going on, and I'm sitting here sending her screenshots, about our podcast and, like, I was, like, circling things on the screenshots, and then she responds to me with this video of her and John with towels just all over the floor and wringing them out in, like, buckets of water.
we got to a point where we ran out of linens and, I was like, I don't know what else to do other than just keep wringing things out. And so went and got a bucket and started wringing what was out in the living room. And he was wringing all the towels, and it was probably an inch to 2 inches of water in the kitchen, and in the living room. Thank goodness again for our wall of towels and blankets. All of our blankets, we use those as well.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
man.
but it was not enough time to, like, think other than what else can we do? What is the next best step that we can do? We're limited on what we can do. We've already used all the towels. All we can do is keep wringing them out and sticking them down and just keep picking up the water. And there got to be a point about it was about 8:30 when I was wringing out the water from the kitchen, and I see just this little area where there wasn't water, and I was like, "Oh, don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. Don't say anything. Just keep bringing it out. Maybe I'm just moving fast enough that, the water is not coming in as fast,
Right.
or I'm staying up on top of it." And finally, like, after 10 minutes of first noticing that, we realized, like, it slowed down in raining. It wasn't coming in anymore, and we stayed wringing out all the linens for 4 more hours, so finally we got everything dried up off the floor by midnight and started working on squeezing out the rug.
Oh my gosh.
So, I said earlier that when we first bought the house 2 years ago, within the first 2 weeks of us owning it, you know, it flooded, and granted, we know that there's a drainage issue, we're not in a floodplain, so that information would have been helpful in making bigger plans to improve the drainage had we known that it had flooded previously.
Right. That's really messed up that the previous owner the previous owner should have disclosed that it had flooded before, and it's pretty obvious that it flooded
Oh,
before.
absolutely, it was really obvious. The when we had bought the house and had the first flooding incident, we were already planning on doing renovations, and when the first flood event happened, we ended up cutting first, I don't know, 2 feet from the floor up out and redoing all of the insulation and everything, and when we removed that wall from the entire kitchen, living, dining room area, we saw that there was the wood was breaking down, and it was
So it was obvious that it had
without a
previous
doubt,
damage.
like,
Yeah.
this was not from just this once.
Wow.
So there's gonna be some work as far as seeing what we can do about that on that end, but, one of the things that I recognized with this is gonna be weird to say, but there was a lot of gratitude
Yeah.
throughout this.
Yeah.
So the first time, well, first off, having gone through it once before,
Just takes a little pressure.
yeah, you kinda know, like, what you can do.
Right.
So there was no, "Oh, no, what do we do?" It was, "Okay, grab the towels, grab the
Just get
blankets." Yeah,
moving. Yeah.
and just do the things. And so that was a bit of the gratitude that we had already done this once before. While that was still irritating that we're having to do it again, we, were able to move at a quicker speed with less conversation, less thinking,
Yeah.
less emotional reaction. There was no or very little, "Oh, no, what are we gonna do?" Emotional breakdown. It was very action oriented. Some of the other positive things about this experience was this time we were actually living there, which meant that we had
All
a
the
lot more linens.
Oh, because you guys didn't have there was nothing in the
We had
house.
3 towels the
Right.
first time
Right.
and a trash can.
Oh,
So there was no stopping it. There was no barricading it the first time. So this time we had, the towels, we had the blankets, we had the rugs, and so we were able to barricade it.
yeah.
The other benefit this time was the first time our AC unit wasn't working.
Oh my gosh.
And, I don't know, we're in Texas, it gets hot.
Very.
Oddly enough, we're in sweaters today. It's in the 40s in April in
Yeah,
Texas.
that
So,
ridiculous storm came with a cold front,
yeah,
so
I
yeah.
mean, but that's good because that's anti-mold. So another benefit, the
Bonus.
the last time it did not stop raining for several days.
Yeah.
And, granted, that was at the time of the pandemic, so everybody was working from home, and so we were taking breaks and going and digging, like panic digging these trenches. So this time, there was no panic digging. We had the AC unit, we're living there, so we're not having to go back and forth from our home or where we were living to this new home. We had all the linens, and it stopped raining. So
Yeah.
the last 2 days, it was really sunny, and so it allowed for some of that to dry up a tiny bit. It's still very,
She's gonna say the M word. Go ahead. I'll let you. This is a pass. This whole few days has been a pass for you.
thank you. The ground is still very saturated. There we go.
Oh,
I
she
got you.
didn't say the M word. Thank you.
And, after the initial, gosh, we were up till 2:30 in the morning. I go to bed at 9:30. I don't party like that anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that was rough.
Yeah.
Um, we went to bed. Our hands hurt from wringing out the towels, like, they're still sore. Our feet hurt from running back and forth, just grabbing things and trying to wring the water out, and our lower backs hurt. John couldn't bend down because he
Mm,
couldn't bend the knee, but he was
gosh.
still like, there were a couple times where he triggered it and, had to, like, "Okay, stay aware,
Yeah.
but still keep acting, keep moving." And, I reached out to a couple of people, the night of. My mom, bless my mom's heart, she felt heartbroken because she couldn't do anything from where she
Oh, I
was.
was in a panic as soon as I saw your video. I was like, "How do I get to her?" But we were experiencing a ton of flooding, not just her home being flooded, but, there was a report that there was, like, 30 cars, that were submerged underwater in the North Austin area, and so I knew that leaving the house would be dangerous, and I was trying to weigh I was like, "How do" I was even thinking about I was like, "Do I risk an Uber driver's life to get her more towels? Like, how do I help?" Like, when you love somebody and you wanna be there, and take action in a system, it makes it really difficult when you can't. And so your brain tends to go into this like panic mode of how do I help? You know?
And I gave you something to help with. I my response was, "Start meditating.
Yeah, she did.
Turn your power on, and let's stop this rain."
Yeah.
And for not the first 30 minutes to 45 minutes because I was so, like, focused on the immediate events, but very quickly, when the water was still coming in, I was visualizing in my head. I didn't stop doing what I was doing as far as wringing out the rags and everything, but I was visualizing the radar clearing up, and I asked you to do the same thing,
Yep.
and it slowed down. I'm not saying we did it, but I'm not saying we didn't. The rain slowed down. Very soon after I sent that to you is when the water started receding out of our house and we started seeing dry patches. So I have no doubt that we have power.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I do feel that there was that influence.
Yeah, absolutely. 'Cause I was doing the same thing. I was watching Cable 1 or Channel 1 or whatever, and it just had the radar on the entire time, and there was another storm, another very severe storm heading directly for us,
Mhm.
and so I would just sit there and visualize that storm just moved around our North Austin area, to give some kind of relief because while you were going through all that, we have a low zone in our back corner of our house, and when that was happening, my husband was running out and putting out the sump pump and trying to divert the water from our home.
And there were like 70 lightning strikes or
Th
70,
so
700
So
lightning
dangerous.
strikes.
Yeah, so dangerous, to be running out in the rain with your feet fully submerged in water to throw in a sump pump while it's lightning outside. Um, Steven, you and I have talked about this. So, yeah.
And it was interesting, like, at that moment in time when because we weren't paying attention to the radar. We had literally just started a movie while we were sitting down for dinner, and so we were not really aware other than we knew it was supposed to rain.
Yeah.
So, when the rain slowed down a little bit, I knew that there was another storm cell coming, but I wasn't sitting there watching it or anything like that. I knew we had an hour. We had an hour to try and dry up some towels so that we could reuse them again, soak up as much water.
Panic.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we would have space to take more water. um, so yeah, it was
Yeah.
a bit of, a panic, but again, you've got to look for those silver linings. And this was a huge one for me. All the people that wanted to support us. My manager at work, you, Shyra, my parents, or both of our parents, even your
Even
parents.
my parents, yeah.
My coworkers reaching out the next day asking how can they help, and just expressing their uh, support. And my mom, she got online, and we've got a bunch of fans now. We had 4 fans to start with. We now have 12 fans from our neighbors, my mom, you.
Yeah.
Um,
You've got another one downstairs to
yeah.
take with you today. Yeah.
They're still blowing. Um, but it's just so cool having people giving, and I never felt alone in all of this, but it was just these acts of giving that made me feel a part of this community. That's
Yeah.
that's community right there,
Right.
is working together and, as one
Yeah.
against these events, these travesties, these, hard, difficult times that you have to work through. And my mom, this was really cool. We didn't have a dehumidifier. And my mom got on Facebook and saw somebody had posted about also getting about 4 inches of rain in an hour. And, she wrote on there, like, do you know anybody that has a dehumidifier? My daughter's house flooded. And the person that posted that was like, "Hey, are you looking to buy or are you looking to borrow?" And my mom was like, either."
Right. Down for either. Thank you.
And the person says, "I have one. Let me give it to you.
Oh,
It can be a gift."
I love the community.
And it was just so cool to get the things that we needed, even though we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, another frustrating thing, we had literally the hour within 30 minutes before this flood event, we had just paid off a credit card.
Gosh.
And we were like, "Yay, we're gonna pay off all our debt by the end of the year." We may have to rework that.
You know what keeps popping into my head while we're talking? I keep thinking about some of the conversations that you and I have had in our past. Basically, we all go through this, unless you're like extremely loaded, then good for you. But we all go through this phase in our lives and where you feel this lack of abundance, right? Where you feel like you're not going to be able to survive the next month or whatever. I know I went through that for a really long portion of the front end of my adulthood. Like every paycheck was vital. I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to even get to that next paycheck and things of that nature. But there was one thing that my parents had always distilled in me, and that was no matter what, you're going to figure it out. And I don't know, and sometimes I look back at those times, and I don't know if those were moments of, uh, kinda use that power within to create the manifestation and, that action aspect of it all. But I swear to you, I've always had that mentality ever since. No matter what, I will figure it out. No matter
Mhm,
what, I know I'm not alone.
mhm,
I have my wits, I have my friends, I have my family, I have a community of some sort, right? And I feel like that was really shown to you that no matter what, we'll work through it step by step. It's not going to be easy all the time. It's not going to you know, always be this thing that I don't know what I'm saying right now, but like you know what I'm saying. It You're gonna have these moments in life that will just hit you. And I will say, Carrie, this I was worried about your well-being mentality-wise, and then when she sent me this video to tell me that the house was flooding in the first place, part in the video, because she had cleared out her living room or pushed all that furniture back, she goes, "Look, so much room for activities." And she, like, made a joke in this video while her house got water in it, and I was like, "Wow, she's doing really good." I was like, "She's handling this really well."
I don't know if I was sane or insane. But you're right, like, there was not a point where I felt alone in this, and I think so easily we can feel isolated in our problems where we don't feel that we have the capacity to ask for help, or we're afraid that we're going to bring other people down or into our shit if we ask for
Right.
for help from other people. But that's not the case. Like, no offense, but those people are not wanting to get down in the muck with you. They would like to pull you out.
Right. That's correct. Well said. Well said. That is 100% accurate. A ma a majority of people don't wanna get down in the muck. I mean, come on, we have our moments where we're chatting with our girlfriends and we're like, maybe talking a little bit of shit, and then you kinda like you'll jump in, "Oh, yeah?" And you'll get
Yeah.
into the shit with them a little bit, but then you're like but then there's this, like, pull out moment,
Mhm.
right? This, lifting each other up
Yeah.
is the point of all of it. So, I agree with you 100%. That's so well said. Anyway.
So, I think, while there's a lot of work to be done, we do have resources as far as friends and family, and that's another thing, like, I know it's really hard to ask for help with finances, but knowing that there's people there that will not let you go homeless,
Would never.
like, that's not an option
It's
for
not.
many of our who would who we would actually, like, deem as our friends and our family.
Right.
Like, we won't let those people suffer.
And that should say something about, finding the community, right? Or discovering that community, discovering the people that you actually want to spend time with and that want to spend time with you and building those connections and that relationship because then you build this foundation of not only not being alone but you build a foundation of care for one another. You want to, right? I mean, I wanted to leave the house in the middle of a storm and help my best friend because I was hurting for her at that point, right? And and just having that type of compassion and ability within to just want to do those types of things for somebody else is it felt good. Like the very next day I was like, I'm taking time off of work. I'm coming to your house. I went and got them Starbucks cake pops because I was just
Yeah.
like a little bit of joy would be nice, I'm sure, like a little sugar to just get them going a little bit, but and then when I got there, I was like, "What can I do? What do you need me to do?" And I was like, "Let's go investigate your neighbors' backyards and see like what's causing all this water to come to your house."
Yeah, yeah, and we had quite a few people over.
Yeah,
You
yeah, your
know,
mom was there when I got there.
my mom came over, our nephew came over, cleaned out the gutters, like,
Yeah,
because again, my husband can't get on a ladder right now, so he
yeah.
can't climb up.
I like wrapped my arm around his and I was like, "Walk with me." He's like, "I can walk." I was like, "Nope, I don't want you falling on my watch."
But, I mean, it's I'm grateful for my perspective through all of this in the last couple of days. I don't think I would have had this same perspective had I not experienced the first flooding event.
Yeah, and there was so much going on in that first flooding event. There was so much going on. Moving in general is already difficult,
And
but
then trying to remodel,
renovating while
doing a
moving.
DIY, the
Right.
first house you buy. Yay. We're those people. Uh,
Got so much knowledge in the bag now.
but I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for the love that surrounds us. I'm so grateful for knowing that we're not alone. I'm so grateful for not having any doubts about uh, n- going to somebody and being able to receive help or assistance. I and even receiving these gifts from people that I've never met before. Like, just wow.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on in my life.
No big deal. No big deal. Um,
Oh, but that's it's a good reminder to just evaluate if you have any intuitive hits. Like, I definitely felt like I had an intuitive hit. All week I felt like something was off or something was going to happen. Yesterday I was originally supposed to go on a not an introductory, but a educational flight. So I really want to learn how to fly a plane. And I was
that's so
supposed to
cool.
yesterday and had met with the gentleman that was gonna take me. He had educated me, for several hours this week, and just something in my gut this entire week, I was like, "Something's gonna cause me to cancel." And I was like, "Is that just me, like, saying I don't wanna do it or, like, doubting if this is a good step for me?" I was like, "I don't know, because I really wanna do it." I was like,
Right.
"Just" even that Thursday, I had met with him, and the whole time he was, sitting with me for the hour, I was like, "Something's gonna happen. So I'm not gonna go on Saturday." And yeah,
So interesting.
and it was so wild because this thunderstorm, when I called my mom when it was happening, when we were getting flooded, because I was looking for any advice, um, I called her and I was like, "Hey," um, super calm, "Mom, do you have any advice? The house is flooding." And bless her heart, she didn't have any, but she was like, "Wait, what? The house is flooding? Why? Is there a
Yeah.
pipe burst?" And I was like, "No, it's a really bad thunderstorm." And she was like, "Oh my god, it's bone dry here." And she lives in South Austin. So, like, there was no idea.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that was interesting, just going back to the whole, like, us meditating and trying to manifest this change in direction for the second storm that was coming in after the first one, you know, it literally was its trajectory was going straight to us in the exact same route as the first one, and I even took screenshots, actually. I took screenshots of the timestamps on when it was expected to hit, and then I would close my eyes, and I would visualize that radar and that this storm just kinda drooped south. Sorry for those in further south of Austin about that, by the way. But,
I still don't think it was quite as bad.
yeah.
I know San Antonio got flooded pretty bad.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so even more sorry. So, and then you see it dip down below us, and I was like, "How? That's so cool, like, keep going." And
Mhm.
even this morning, we were supposed to get, or was it last night?
Last night.
Last night, we were supposed to get hit with another storm, so she had been preparing all the rest of the weekend trying to.
Friday and Saturday, we like I said, we cleaned out the gutters, we, cleaned up all the debris in the yard,
Mhm.
had the lawn people come out and clean up all the leaves that actually built up, that blocked a lot of the water flow. We bleached the walls, we drained the pool, we got a sump pump
What a
going.
weekend. Wow.
I got up on the roof and patched a couple areas that we think were leaking. Um
I'm like, "Can I get a round of applause for her just being here today?"
I was like, "I need to get out of the house."
I was like, "Are you sure you wanna do this, like, in person, or do you wanna just do this, like, maybe we'll skip a week? I'm sure our audience will forgive us."
Quite honestly, I needed a break from all the white noise of the 12 different fans in the house.
Yeah,
It's so loud in there.
yeah,
I needed a break, and just I needed a break from the immediate space.
right, right. I can understand that. I was like, "How do I politely, like, say you have an out if you need it?" Right? Like,
Yeah, you said it twice, and I was like, "No, I'm coming over. I want to be there."
I
Um,
was like, "Cool, that's my preference, but just so you know, you have an out."
Thank you.
You don't need
Thank
my
you.
permission, but
No,
still, you know?
but and it was funny because you even said, "Well, I just didn't want to, I didn't want you to feel bad if you needed to cancel." And I was like, that thought didn't even cross my mind. I was like, nowhere in there did feeling bad even come up for needing, potentially to take time to deal with this stuff.
But what a growth, right? Like, I mean, if you think about,
True.
you usually in the past, and you've been doing a lot better about this, and I'm just as guilty. You put other people before yourself, and you'll go above and beyond, even if you don't have the bandwidth or capacity within to do it.
I
And
think though, knowing you and knowing our relationship, I never felt like you would like, that never even crossed my mind that
oh,
you
cool.
would make me feel bad.
I love that.
So, like, it didn't even
Oh, good. Oh,
yeah.
good.
In fact, when you sent me, "I just didn't want you to feel bad," I, like, chuckled.
She's like, I'm good, girl.
Yeah, it didn't even cross my mind. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on,
Yeah. Yeah.
lots of stuff to come up in the next few months as far as redoing everything. Um, when when you feel like okay, so there have been a couple moments in the past couple of days where I felt my spouse get kind of down and out, and I felt, and this is me putting words to what I experienced him experiencing. He felt almost like he in several moments maybe gave up hope.
Mm,
And I there were a couple moments where, he would be going down kind of this negative path of, well, this is going on and this isn't going to get any better. And I don't know, maybe it's pointless to even try and dry things. And I was like, in my head, first of all, like, I'm not giving up. It's not pointless to me. And so I felt resolve and just standing my ground and continuing to do what I felt was correct. But also, I had a moment where I reflected back on him. So, what's good right now? What what are the I hear you saying like we may have to tear everything out. We we have a brand new kitchen as of 2 years ago. We may have to completely redo the kitchen, and I said, but I need something positive right now. Like I hear you like pounding down on this is bad. This is bad. Okay, so what's the good news? Well, there's no buckling in the floors. The
Those
ca
floors are sturdy. Woo,
Thank goodness for the choice of vinyl.
right.
There's no bubbling around the cabinets yet. We have knowledgeable people around us that can help us make decisions. We have a contractor we trust.
That is a hard thing to find.
So having somebody that we trust come out and tell us, like, realistically, what are we gonna need to do?
Right.
Are the cabinets salvageable, or are we gonna have to tear things out? We have a really good cabinet people.
I was gonna say, I was like, you guys got a really, really good company to do your cabinets.
A totally reasonable price, like a third of the price of what Home Depot and Lowe's quoted. If anybody's in the Austin area,
I'm gonna use them for
Granite
my laundry room, so
J&L Granite and countertops or cabinets, fantastic.
we'll link them below.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
I am exhausted
I bet.
physically and mentally. Emotionally, I don't feel like I've had a lot of, like, extreme emotions, oddly enough. I'm a pretty sensitive person, and I panic sometimes, but in an emergency situation, I had it together.
It's almost like you have a collection of skill sets, right? Because I'm thinking about back at the first time that this occurred, before you moved in, and there like I said, for you, babe, there were, like, a ton of things going on at once, and so it wasn't just the flooding.
It was
Um
COVID, it was
Right,
buying
right.
a house, it was remodeling, it was dealing with a really crappy seller.
And your dad?
Oh, yeah, my dad was going through a lot of,
Mhm.
health issues, and that's right.
Yeah, you were taking care of him, and so, and I could see it during that time, I could see it in your face, like, that it was drained. You look completely fantastic right now. You're like, you look solid and good. You're like, "Alright, what's next?"
I mean, don't say, "Mm-mm, you better knock on the wood right now, there's no
No,
next."
like, what's my next action, right? Like, "Alright, I got this action done. What's my next action?"
Mhm,
Right?
mhm.
No, all good things coming to you,
I need a massage. Bring me a massage.
babe. You hear the jingle, Webster's here to say hello, clearly.
Hi, BB.
And
Oh, I do wanna share this. So my dogs, uh, were somewhat panicked. Oddly enough, my, healer Aussie Shepherd, my 3-year-old, Nova, uh, she was really panicked before it started flooding, and I just finished making dinner, I was plating the food, she was in the kitchen, and normally when you tell her to get out of the kitchen, she gets out, but she was, like, up under my feet and
oh,
under John's
baby.
feet. She would not leave our sides, and we kept telling her, like, "It's okay, it's just a thunderstorm," like, just John
Yeah.
said, "Trust mom and dad, we got it, we'll let you know if something's wrong." Um, and so she was, like, really anxious, and we sat down, and she starts barking, and we're like, "What? It's just thunder, like, it's okay." She's she's not the most calm in thunderstorms, but she doesn't usually, get amped to this extent,
Yeah.
and so I think she knew. I think she knew something was up. She felt it in, like,
Oh,
the
yeah.
shift of the weather, like, I have no doubt that she was trying to tell us something, and so finally I got up and I was like, "What, babe? Are you trying to warn me about something?" And then that's when I sat back down, that's when John got up, and that's when he said, "Oh, shit."
My gosh.
And it was really precious, like, you could tell she was actually trying to help, even though she was kind of in the way.
She's
Um,
like, "Give me a towel. I got this."
After I moved all the furniture, the husky got up on the couch and just stayed there the whole time
I
just
was gonna
watching
say,
us.
Ryder the husky, I was he like, "I got all this fur, you wanna soak it up?
Yeah.
You can wring me
Dang, I
out."
missed that opportunity. That's what helped the rug soak up all the
Right?
extra water.
The husky hair.
But, was as we were trying to wring the water out of the linens and try and soak it up, she would come over and stand next to us and try and lick the water up, and I was like, "No, no, no, don't do
Don't do that.
that." there might be insulation somewhere in the water, like,
Right.
but it was just so precious, because you could tell she was like, "I feel your stress. I feel your stress. Mom, let me help. I'm gonna help."
These little babies are just they're just the love. They're love in a furry package, like, the best kind. Yeah, Webster, after an unfortunate incident of a neighbor, once upon a New Year's Eve letting out way too many
Mm.
fireworks right at the fence line, he went from never being scared of thunderstorms to now terrified of thunderstorms. And, little baby's got some PTSD, I guess, but
Yeah, it wasn't until fireworks that
yeah,
Nova started stressing about the,
yeah.
thunderstorms, so
They're beautiful. We love fireworks. They're absolutely gorgeous, but in neighborhoods with pets, they're not great.
it's tough
Yeah, nobody yeah,
because they
uh,
don't understand,
they don't.
really, and I don't think anybody's intentionally trying to stress them out, but
Absolutely. You wanna get to the
yes. So we're going to do our collective card reading now. I am a little curious if there's any cards pertaining to the flood.
I was gonna say, I was like, "What are we in for?"
So, hopefully, the intention is that these are pieces of advice for the collective.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm curious if.
I shuffled the deck, right before we hit record. I asked the guides at first, they were really quiet, and then I heard because I was sitting at the edge of the chair, and then I actually heard them say, "Sit back." Like,
Mm.
in other words, like, "You're gonna have a harder time meeting us halfway if you're at this level of angst."
You know what that also I thought of when you said, "Oh, they said to sit back,"
Mhm.
was realigning your chakras.
Oh, that's a good point. Well done. Yeah, that's a good point. So
I forgot one other thing that I did, during the flood was I used our power, our manifesting power, and I wanna tell you, I took a moment and I very loudly
oh, yeah.
commanded that it needed to stop raining and the rain needed to go elsewhere because it was no longer welcome on top of this house.
Yeah.
And I said it very loudly. It was slightly goofy voice. 'Cause again, coping mechanisms. Um, and I even said, "I command you." And John was standing right next to me and he kind of chuckled.
I bet.
And I looked at him and I kept going. And I was like, "I command you to stop raining. You are no longer welcome over this house. You take that rain in, you go elsewhere."
Hey, and I had just watched this manifestation, like, thing, and they literally said, "When you yell this out loud, when you say it out loud and with intention and with purpose behind your words, uh, it is actually manifestation will happen usually a lot faster." So,
And I'll be honest, like I it's a little fuzzy now as far as the order of events. But I think that was probably closer to 9 or 10 o'clock when it had started slowing, but it was still raining.
yeah.
Oh, it was that's what it was. It was before when I thought the second round was gonna hit.
Oh.
And so it was in that power of pushing that second round that I was like, no.
Isn't that interesting how, I feel like manifestation a lot of people are trying to do manifestation, and I'm guilty of the same thing, so there's no judgment here, but when you're doing it, usually you're not doing it without the thought of the lack somewhere in the back of your subconscious, right? And so, like, the opposite of what you're trying to go for is what I mean by that. And but when you're in a moment like that and you're like, "Absolutely not. It's just not gonna happen." There is no thought process of it's going to still happen. You're just, like, yelling it to the universe, and your intention's clear, and your thoughts are clear, and your direction and your focus is clear.
And I'll tell you what I didn't have in that moment. I did not have fear
Mm.
connected to that command. I was not visualizing water rushing back in. I was not fearful of more flooding. It was, "This is enough."
Yeah. 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 I mean, literally, like, at what point you're just like,
Not
"Done."
to say that there weren't feelings of, like, angst, in that whole event,
Right.
but in that very moment of commanding the weather patterns to change, I was just like, "I'm not taking shit from you anymore."
This rain has got to stop.
Alright, back to the cards.
Back to the cards.
Alright, so
I'm now very interested.
I am too.
I set the intention of what is for our highest and greatest good, what is the highest and greatest good for the collective or anyone that comes across this content whenever they come across this content. Um, I asked for cards. They did not want to give me cards at first until I aligned myself to that, which I thought was pretty interesting. And I got one very quickly after readjusting and sitting back. And then I wasn't getting any other cards. And I was like, I need two more. Guides, give me at least two more. We always do three for our group. And two, only two popped out. So I haven't seen them yet. So let's take a look.
Alright, so we are using the Psychic Tarot Oracle deck by John Holland today, and the first card, we'll just go ahead and flip this puppy over. Card number 19, the Light.
Ooh. And this is a numbers card. So, and the
Yeah,
oracle deck.
while you open that up, I will tell the audience. This card has a feminine person. She's leaning forward and looking up towards the light. She has her hands kind of open. One's closer to her face while one is reaching out, almost in a Superman position. She's got like this white tank top on. She looks very like summery, and there's lots of yellows and reds and like little stars mixed in with the light that she's leaning towards. But now that I'm looking at it again, it kind of looks like the light is beaming from her.
Does she kind of have like a Marilyn Monroe-esque about
Yeah,
her?
kind
Yeah.
of.
Okay. Well, this is part of the major arcana cards. And in its traditional archetype, it's the sun.
Mm,
And this card, I'm reading from the book. So thank you, John Holland. This card reassures you that this is your time to be in the light, no matter what's happening around you. Prosperity and bliss are promised. The qualities of this brilliant card are pleasure, happiness, contentment, growth, success, joy, and illumination. The light always brings forth new birth, a constant renewal of life. And then I just want to say to validate your description of the card, back here, it actually says, "Many will benefit as they feel the warmth emanating from you."
I tell you what, yesterday it was warm and sunny. Same with Friday. And it was such a blessing, and I held so much gratitude for the last 2 days as far as the sun coming out and shining and really helping to warm the land and soak up a lot of the saturation. I almost said it again.
You did.
Um, and I remember just in the last 2 days, like, going out and just standing in the sunlight and just appreciating the heat because it's cold in the house. We're trying to keep that AC low. We're trying to,
Right.
dry up the risk for mold. And it reminded me, and looking back now, I think I even said this to my dad in our morning conversations. It was either Wednesday or Thursday. I said, "Remember, you are the light. The light is shining from you. So even on a cloudy day, the sun is still shining bright behind the clouds. Be that light."
Okay, wait for it. I'm reading from the book just because she doesn't know what's in the book, right? I've got it. The light card reminds you that because of its power, nothing remains in the dark. Through its illumination, truths and certain paths before you begin to emerge and can be surely seen. Using the energy of positive thoughts and continually thinking about the happiest and most joyful of memories will light the path before you even more brightly and keep attract exactly what you're emanating. Keep on shining, literally says that. But I can't help but, think that, I mean, choosing to look at a flooding situation as something dark, it did show you, though, that there was still that risk of flood.
Mhm.
right? It
Oh,
brought this
yeah.
forth, so that's
Like,
shining something on something
that's
that was
huge.
unseen,
That's huge,
right?
right? Like, oh my gosh, like, one huge positive that we're so grateful for is that we were there.
You were home,
We were
right?
home when it was happening. I can't even imagine if it was while we were at work and the dogs were there in the house by
Oh my
themselves
gosh.
and, nothing was being done and everything's completely destroyed.
Right.
Like, all of our electronics plugged in, everything.
You were able to move all of that and get it out of the way. She-Hulked.
I She-Hulked. We God, when we tried to move things back, I was like, "I can't. It's too heavy, I can't." And that was with John's help. Granted, I know adrenaline is a huge help, and I was probably completely spent from 4 hours of stand, squat, pick up, wring it out, stand, squat, pick it wring it out, like,
Yeah.
I'm sure I was exhausted from that, like,
Oh,
physically.
yeah.
But it was just wild, the difference in, like, how I felt the weight from, "Nope, we're gonna move it," to, "I can't move it."
Isn't that crazy that your willpower can adjust the weight of something?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Adrenaline, man.
I know, right? Next.
Alright.
Wisdom.
Number
It's
5.
also a major arcana card.
It's got a little Scotty dog in the bottom left. So a little white dog, bottom left. It kinda this image almost reminds me of the wise men, like, walking up towards the stable. So there's a gentleman that's walking with a book.
Is that like a little schoolhouse? I love that the little dog is looking
I
back
don't
at this guy.
I don't think so because it looks like a man, a woman, and a child.
Hmm. Okay.
So it makes me think of a family home.
Let's take a look here. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. This card illustrates that there's a spiritual teacher who's about to influence you or step into your life to impart his or her wisdom. Look around. Is there someone in your life who has the acumen, education, knowledge, and ability to integrate spirituality and its laws into the constraints of the physical? I just got this thought in my head while reading this that this is more of a prophetic card for us. That's the thought that just came in, as in
Going forward.
going forward, be on the lookout.
Well, I think so many times we let our ego get in the way. We don't ask for help or guidance, or we just, try and
Right.
rely on our own knowledge, um, whether, it's accurate or from a made up source or whatever. Um, and when we are asking for help, it can sometimes feel like we're saying we're not good enough or we don't know enough, we're not enough. And I think that there's wisdom in knowing when to ask for help
Yeah.
and not allowing ego to prevent you from reaching out.
Oh, yeah. I did the same thing when building the studio. I'm still building this studio. It's a work in progress behind this camera. um, and I'm learning things. And yesterday I was just like, you know what? I'm determined that at this point in time, I just need to ask for help. I'm trying to learn a lot of this on my own, and I feel very prideful in being able to do that. But eventually, I'm gonna have to ask for help, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. I was like, "I gotta go to this camera store, and I gotta get some help."
Mhm, mhm. I had no shame connected to asking for help.
Yeah. Isn't that
I
amazing how, I when you get to a point usually it involves some level of frustration before you get there, so that's kind of a shame for us, but when you get to a point where you're just like, "Nah, man, this is just not for me anymore. I need somebody else to teach me this."
Mhm.
Yeah, you hit that
I
wall.
I mean, reaching out to my mom, reaching out to you, you've dealt with almost floods several times as well. Um,
My apartment flooded.
oh god.
Remember when I lived off the Duval
Oh,
on the first floor?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then reaching out to my manager, who turned out has had also several floods that she's dealt with. Hers was feet, mine was inches of water rising, so a little different.
Feet.
Feet. and, asking the neighbors for help. It's not often that we reach out to our neighbors, quite honestly, to ask for extra help.
Yeah.
And I had no hesitation. And he's in construction, so he had a bunch of, concrete drying fans.
That's so cool.
And he took off of work early to bring them to us and then went back to work. And, in this conversation, found out that, John's going to have the surgery. So they were like, you let us know. We can get you liquor, ice cream, whatever you need. Yeah.
Great
Yeah. I,
combinations.
I can help you move furniture again if you need. So granted, there was a moment where there was no time to ask for help, right? In the moment of the water rising, there was no looking for help. It was just, I need to do. But now, when there's not immediate actions that needed to be taken, we can reach out for help. We can schedule help. We can call the contractor. We can get the roofer out. You know,
Right.
that is asking for help.
Yeah.
When you reach out to specialists,
You're just normally paying for that help.
yes,
Right.
yes, there's an energy exchange there
Yeah.
for sure. So the wisdom lies in knowing when to ask for help.
And the wisdom lies also in knowing when to accept the help and
Mm,
accept the teachings that somebody else who has a higher knowledge or education in a specific area, and it's okay to receive that from them.
sharing is caring.
It really is. All right.
All right.
What we got?
Card number 3, solitude, number
How
9.
interesting. All of them are the major arcana numbered cards in the Oracle deck.
Huh.
Mhm.
So this card, there is a woman kneeling. She's in a blue dress. She has an open book in her hands, resting on her lap. Behind her is in the very far backdrop is a mountain range. And between her and the mountain range, there is like a big like tower, almost like a castle tower. It kind of reminds me of one of like a chess piece.
This is the standard, archetype, the hermit.
Hmm.
Oh, I can't wait to share this. Keep going.
Oh, I'm good.
Oh, okay, cool. So, stop. Literally, that's the first word out of the book. "Stop!" Exclamation mark. Your soul is calling out and needs to be honored and heard. The answers you seek aren't necessarily found in the outer world. The time has come for you to step back and withdraw from outside commotion. The solitude card is a reminder of how important it is to pause, still the mind, meditate, reflect, reevaluate, and discover the wisdom and answers within the very soul of your being. When you become more aware of your soul and heart, you strengthen the link to the divine source. You are able to once again remember your true perfection. Meet your soul halfway and schedule some alone time to commune with your soul, and also to give the power of spirit the opportunity to reinvigorate your life force, and vitality. Interesting.
I think it's cool that it's connected back to the first card
It
with
is.
light. So the sun card. Um, in astrology, the sun is you. It is your ego. It's you. It's your life force energy. And so I'm seeing that in these cards, it's telling us, you are the light. You have so much power within. All you have to do is open your eyes to see that light within, or maybe like just turn around, because we so often we stand like with our face in a corner, not even realizing it.
Yeah.
And recognizing that there's wisdom within us. And then if we're connected to all things and all people, then we have connection to that wisdom.
Yeah.
However, sometimes we may not be our aptitude in connecting with that inner wisdom may not be as well practiced. So, knowing when to also seek out external support and wisdom from those that are practiced in these things. And then take some time for yourself. Like this practice of solitude and bathing in your own inner light, we get so distracted from doing that on a regular basis that we don't make time for that solitude. And I tell you what, like after all this movement and all this activity over the last few days, like having 6 people over in one day, like that's a lot for me.
Yeah, it is.
Like I'm ready for a quiet massage.
I was gonna say,
That
I
may
was
not be complete solitude, but, don't talk to me and I can pretend.
it's great to, it's great to be in the light. It's great to feel the light. It's also great sometimes when that light is shined on something dark and it casts the shadow so deep that you can see it so clearly. And it brings forth towards you the wisdom and the knowledge and the information that you need to become your own teacher. So we hope that today's episode was a little bit more grounding.
Less watery.
less less watery. We hope for the sake of all of your own personal homes that you stay dry and you stay safe.
Yes.
We love you and we thank you very much for everything. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can follow us on any of our social media platforms. It is at Love Always Self, all one word. And of course, we have a website, lovealwaysself.com. Please leave a review. That helps us on our podcast studio. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions for us or if you have any suggestions for future topics.
Or how to mitigate mold.
or any or any advice for Carrie in her home situation.
I'm open to advice. We bleached the walls already, so
See, this is collecting wisdom, being okay with asking for help. Oh my goodness. So thank you all. Thank you so much.
and thank you for giving me the space to share this shit. And I hope everybody is safe and well and are able to focus on the abundance in their lives. I know a couple things that are really abundant in my life are my friends, my family, and the number of fans in my house. So on that note, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and don't forget to love first
Love last.
and love always. Bye y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista,
And I'm Shyra.
and until next time, remember to love first
Love last
and love always.